This is Ed, and as you can see, it's sunrise in Rio. And I took that picture from my hotel room at the time, and that was in 2010. That's a long time ago, but it's a wonderful view, and it's still there. And with us today in New York is James Moss, and he's the owner, CEO of Curzon Central. And welcome, James.
Ed, hi. And can I say this is a really exciting moment, not just because of your outstanding photograph, by the way, but this is our first ever Curzon Comments podcast. And to be doing this with you in co-production and in partnership with you and Global Business News is fantastic. And I hope that we're going to be doing a lot more of this ahead with the guests. And just delighted that we're launching this together.
Well, I especially like your logo display that we're looking at right now. Curzon is your brand, and Curzon Central is very busy. It's a well-known brand, a name in London property and financial circles, with which you're exceedingly familiar with years of business practice. Why don't you tell our audience quickly about your background in the property business in London?
Yeah, well, sure. I'll take a moment to do that. So I'll talk about London. I also mention New York and the States because the two really go side by side, and sort of buddies together, if you like. So my property side, so I'm a property guy and a relocation guy. The property side started for me in London. So I actually got a US degree in economics. I went back to the UK and got involved in the property markets in London and became a thing called a chartered surveyor, which you don't really have over here. It's a combination between a sort of a lawyer, an appraiser, an agent, quite a lot of building technology and stuff like that, a lot of law, a lot of leases and stuff like that. Um, so I did that for, I don't know, 20, 30 years or more in London, working with a lot of international stuff, including developments, a lot of development work, including exotic places like the Bahamas, as well as top-end developments and residential schemes, and some commercial, but mainly residential in London towards the end there. And then came to the States and became a broker, licensed broker in New York City, and have really been specializing here in the international sector, in international movement into New York, particularly on the corporate side, but also very much on the sort of technology relocation side, which is now becoming quite an international play for us, albeit the main focus is London and New York, UK, and US. So a bit of a combination of various aspects and a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. I love being in New York. I love working in the States. And I love London and working in London as well. So it's a really great situation to be in.
So let's talk a little bit about the property situation and what's going on right now. Let's take New York, Manhattan in particular. It seems to be booming right now.
Yeah, well, it's always active, that's for sure. But the markets are probably a bit quieter, actually,
Hmm.
than they have been. I'm thinking part of it's the time of the year. September, everyone sort of moved and things quieted down a bit. In terms of sort of property, the rental side of the equation, so properties to rent, has actually again quieted down a lot. There was a couple years ago, just coming out of the pandemic, and even last year, there was really substantial growth. That's now much slower, much less. So across New York, so that's the whole New York City. So that includes Queens and Brooklyn and other than Manhattan. The rental growth numbers are a lot lower. You're talking about 2 or 3%. Having said that, in prime Manhattan, so let's take somewhere like Soho, for example, you've seen rental increases this year of 10%, 12%, you know. So in the prime Greenwich Village is very, very strong. And again, that's in the rental side. The sales side, it's active, but again, a lot hinges on interest rates. And when interest rates were really starting to come down, the market was getting quite excited. They thought, well, you know, buyers will return and so on. It looks now, at this moment in time, that interest rates aren't going to be coming down quite as quickly as everyone was expecting. The jobs market in the States is really strong at the moment. So the Fed are not feeling as much of a need to bring those interest rates down. What that means is that the demand is going to be continue to be a bit pent up as interest rates do come down, and therefore the market, and again, you know, in Manhattan, including the prime locations here, most of Manhattan's pretty well primed these days, is not as booming as I guess as a lot of agents would like to say. The thing about agents, particularly or anywhere actually in Manhattan or in prime central London, they are the most positive, upbeat people you ever meet, no matter what the circumstances. But the truth of the matter is that it's a quite a tougher market right now.
Okay, so let's talk about your recent experience in helping people buy into Manhattan.
Well, it's been pretty good. I mean, we've been doing mostly rentals at this time of year, a lot of corporate moves and so on. And that's gone really, really well. It's been a very pretty busy time actually, even though the relocation markets are quieter than they were before the pandemic. You know, the way people work has changed and all the rest of that. In terms of acquisition, yeah, we've had a bit of fun on that front. Our clients tend to be international and they tend to be fairly successful, prosperous, wealthy, sort of high net worth, ultra high net worth. And we're seeing some activity. Um, there's a bit of concern. Curzon Commons is about property and so on, but it's also about, life in general a little bit, if you would like. And there's just been a rather important election here, and a changing of the guard is just around the corner. With Donald Trump coming back for a second term, president-elect, and I think a fair bit of international, from what I'm seeing, and maybe and probably U.S. domestic as well, are sort of wanting to see that play out a bit before actually making a move. And I think spring next year is going to be really, really interesting. One of the things that I think is going to happen is US domestically, in terms of the economy, in terms of the financial markets, are probably going to have quite a good run, particularly with the emphasis that we're seeing now on deregulation. And we're also seeing the president-elect be much friendlier towards technology, for example, than he was 4 years ago. And I think Elon Musk probably has a bit to play in that. So I think we're going to be looking at a healthy bounce back market. And again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens on the interest rate front. If the interest rates start to come down, that's going to be a really good combo. And I think we'll see a lot of positive activity in New York.
Well, thank you very much for that overview. That's very helpful. And as the audience has just heard, it's kind of a mixed bag, but it's overall optimistic. The economic conditions are extremely favorable for the U.S.
Yes.
It's a huge economy and energy independent and just itching for the next phase of recovery from the pandemic induced slump. So
Yeah,
in London, I'm
uh,
sorry, I just want to ask you about
no, go
London
ahead.
because we're time limited here today.
Yeah.
But in the next edition, we'll go deeper into the nature of what makes London real estate popular, um, even post Brexit. What's
Yeah.
that impact all about? And I wanted to ask you for your opinion in the next edition, so you can have a think about it before. Why doesn't Britain just get back into Europe officially and just ditch the Brexit thing? It seems to have caused so many problems.
Yeah, if Brexit did not go well, uh, regardless of which side of the equation you were on. It's actually been a disaster, I think. Um, the idea of Brexit was actually, reasonably positive, but it was a big step breaking with your largest trade partner. And the EU accounted for 48% of GDP. UK GDP at that time is our largest trading partner. So massive thing to do. Um, why won't they get back in? I think almost too much water's gone under the bridge. It seems like such a sensible thing to say. Well, it was a big mistake. Let's reverse it and all the rest of it. It's not as easy to do that. The EU has changed a lot. They will have their own terms, new terms, which may not be particularly the new favorable or what's favorable to the UK, as the UK may wish, and the present government may wish. In terms of trading, it's quite interesting. The actual trading volumes with the EU are actually back to where they were
Good. I
before
didn't know
Brexit.
that.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting statistic. I mean, the actual trade volumes are right back where they are. The problem is you've got a hell of a lot of red tape, and it's really, really difficult and challenging to do business with the EU and to travel in the EU and so on. Um, and that has, that has not really been addressed. And again, there are all sorts of political reasons why that hasn't. The Northern Ireland situation, for example. Um, and I personally, I think, this is my own personal view, and I'm think on the seeing I've run Curzon and so on, a few personal views are probably okay here. I think we need a new breed of politician. I think the politicians we've got are old school. The Conservatives were turfed out in the last general election just a few months ago. And Labour have come in, and it's a clean sweep through. Is that for the better? I don't know. We've just had a really tough budget in the UK, and the consequences of that are yet to play out. Um, it's certainly not helping the property market at the moment. Will it ahead? We will have to wait and see.
So Curzon Comments is all about the facts. What's going on in real estate in London? What's going on in real estate in New York? We know that it's not simple, it's complicated, and you have to know the rules. And Curzon Comments is going to address that, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very much so. And what's going to be fun about this is that we're going to have guests ahead. Let's say this is the first off one, and we're chatting and just introducing Curzon Comments to our audience, which is great. But Curzon Comments should be quite a lively chat show. And video show, which we're going to do periodically. We're going to do it at least monthly. We may even do it more frequently than that. And I think we're going to have a bit of fun, Ed, and we'll get some interesting guests on, and we'll look at all sorts of different aspects related to people moving and to how they live. And so, yes, there'll be a bit of property. There'll be a bit about how you move and the issues that arrive. Then there'll be some of the bigger pictures, the geopolitical stuff. And also we'll look a little bit at entertainment and sport and see what's going on and what makes people tick.
Uh, Absolutely, because we're all human and we're not machines. That's a check off on, are you human? Check that off. Yes, you are. And so we're going to go deeper into CurzonCentral.com and what's that about. And James, it's really an honor for me to be in this with you.
Well, Ed, it's
Thank
it's
you.
just great. Good teamwork and a lot of fun ahead. And yeah, it should be certainly, hopefully, entertaining and a little bit revealing as well.
So, in the next few days, you'll hear from us again with LinkedIn and WhatsApp is real good. You can see that number up there. It goes right to WhatsApp and right to James. And constant communications. If you want to be a guest on the show, notify James or
Yeah,
notify me. But James
yeah.
is the principal, and I'm happy to help produce and promote. That's what I do. Thank you. Thank you very much. And this is Ed. That's Rio, but I'm actually in San Diego on the Mexican border. So we're all international, aren't we? Yes. Okay. Our New York meeting is going to be sponsored by the Global Trade Bank, HSBC, inside the U.S. headquarters, and that's coming up on 12/12. And you'll all be invited to tune in. There's a slight registration fee, but don't worry about it. It's not expensive. It's who you know and who you meet. That's what counts. And Curzon Comments is going to do the same thing for people interested in London property and New York property, some of the relo things that are changing as a result of technology. And James is an expert at that. And he's going to get into that in the next edition as well. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you very much, Ed. All the best.
Ciao.
Ciao.